selected graphic content that you may find distressing, we take a look at the natural history of murder.
Forensic science is becoming increasingly sophisticated. But old-fashioned scientific disciplines like zoology, geology, even archaeology, can play a vital role in a murder investigation.
I'm doing the right nostril. Are you ready?
One remarkable forensic investigator is a botanist called Patricia Wiltshire.
Oh, I think she's been there as well. I think they're both in it.
12 years ago, she was using her knowledge of plants on archaeological digs, investigating the lives of our ancestors, when she received a phone call that would change her life forever.
Esophagus or main aorta is still...
In the last decade, Patricia has developed a new branch of forensic science based around the fact that criminals at an outdoor crime scene will pick up microscopic amounts of natural evidence, like seeds, spores, and pollen.
First of all, it's not magic. A lot of people have called me a witch because I come out with something and they say, oh my God, you can't, how do you know that? You must be a witch. Nonsense. It's deduction.
She has been involved in many major investigations, including the murders of Holly and Jessica from Soham and Sarah Payne.
I work with police officers and some of them say it's the only murder or this kind of vicious murder they've ever dealt with. Well, of course, I've got a very distorted view of life because I go from one nasty murder to another nasty murder, to a dreadful rape, to another dreadful rape, to a rape and a murder, another murder, a dismemberment.
But to police officers, she is simply the pollen lady. "12 years ago, Madeline Harley, a world expert on pollen, based at Kew Gardens, received a mysterious call.
The phone rang and it was Bill Bryden from the Hertfordshire Police, and he had a murder inquiry on his hands. I'd obviously thought about it and felt that pollen evidence would be very, very useful, but it's not quite what we do. I rang round 2 or 3 people, and the one who accepted it with alacrity was Pat Wiltshire. She said, oh, that sounds absolutely fascinating. And I said, well, it is a murder inquiry, you know.
The discovery of the still smouldering body in a ditch was the beginning of one of the biggest murder inquiries seen in Hertfordshire.
This gruesome murder was Pat's first opportunity to apply her knowledge to a forensic investigation. The police needed to find the suspect's car and then hope that Pat could prove it had been in this specific place.
Hello, Bill.
Hello, Pat. How are you? Nice
Long
to see you.
Yeah.
11 years on.
Yeah.
What we wanted to do was put the car, if we ever got it, back in the field. Because obviously when we contacted you, we didn't know if we'd ever recover the car. We were able to...
2 months later, the car was found and Pat could begin her search for pollen evidence.
I mean, I just did about everything, air filters, the inside, the outside, the underneath, and a lot of it was a waste of time, as I now know. But I now know how to target a vehicle quite carefully, but and quite meaningfully. But in those days, well, it was just a game, really.
At this point in the investigation, Pat had never visited the hedgerow where the body had been found. But the different types of pollen she'd identified from the suspect's car painted a picture in her mind of what the place would look like.
It was a eureka moment. I came up to see the field, and I remember one of the soccos saying to me, this is it, and I said, this looks like a uniform piece of hedge, but I'll tell you where the body was, you don't tell me. And I came up, and I picked this spot, and I was utterly amazed that I could do that. I really was. And I did it, really, by the field maple and all the plants around, but there was a very distinctive flora, arable weeds around the edge, and those are what made it distinctive.
But to prove it was the same place, Pat needed to take samples from the ditch.
And they were really marvellous because they just matched the car.
Yeah.
They matched the inside of the car, and well, I could say there was a reasonably high probability that they'd been to a place like this.
Yeah.
And I think in those days, that's all I did say. And then, of course, you came back to me with another case, and another case, and another case, and that's how it's developed, isn't it?
That's when it stops being a novelty, doesn't it?
That's when yeah, it's certainly not a novelty anymore, I can tell you.
The evidence Pat gathered from this ditch helped convict the killers, and a new forensic discipline was born.
I suggest we look at the fleece first.
All the evidence that Pat collects has to be processed in a lab before it can be observed under a microscope.
It involves all sorts of dangerous acids and really nasty chemistry. Now, the pollen grains are